Hi, Param. How are you today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on our speaker series. We're so excited to get to know you, share your story with the students, and Accelerate Plus is just really happy to have you.
It's
So,
it's a pleasure. Thank you.
before we start, tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're at in your career journey.
Absolutely. So, hi everyone. My name is Param Desai. I'm in my last year of undergraduate at Ryerson University in Toronto, doing computer engineering. I'll be graduating soon. Besides that, I'm also an incoming consulting analyst at Deloitte. And apart from my school, I like to play soccer. I like to play ping pong, and I also like attending conferences and hackathons. I've been to quite some of them. My latest one being the Forbes Under 30 conference at Detroit. I had lots of fun. And I'm excited to be here and talk about my journey and answer a few questions. So, yes, thank you so much for inviting me.
No problem. We're happy to have you. So, Param, did you always know that you wanted to go into consulting?
Well, to be very honest, a couple of years ago, if you go back, I wasn't sure what consulting was or like what the industry looked like. And I was just a simple, undergraduate student taking my courses and doing extracurriculars on campus. It was only, I think, when I started looking for internships after my second year and like looking for co-ops, I realized that there are lots of streams out there, and I got to know about the broader spectrum of consulting.
Mhm.
So it kind of happened like we had various companies coming on campus just for networking and talking with us and everything. So I still remember there was this Deloitte that was coming on campus, and I read in my campus newsletter that Deloitte is coming, and
Mhm.
Deloitte office is very close to my campus. So I was like, you know what? Why not just try and see what this company is about? So I applied, and fortunately, I got selected to attend the networking session. So I was like, okay, let's go and talk to them. So cut to I go there and I talk to the recruiters. I see what the what the company is about and everything. So I learned about the company culture. I learned about what's it like, and then I started applying for co-op at Deloitte. So during my first co-op at Deloitte is when I got hands-on experience doing consulting and all those
Mhm.
kinds of similar roles. So that is when I found that okay, you know what, this is something that I would like to go into. This is my potential fit. So I think it was through series of experiences that I found that consulting is the right fit for me
Mhm.
rather than something that I knew from the very beginning. So that is how I found my right fit. And in my full time too, I think I would be doing consulting as I go ahead.
That's amazing. So, what I'm hearing from you is that networking with professionals not only helped you get the position itself or get to know more about the company, but also gave you a better sense of what you wanted to actually do after graduating.
Absolutely. Yes. I think networking is like the core because you get to talk to so many people and you kind of see that, you know what, this person is doing this job, and you ask them a lot of questions, and any question you have or any misconceptions you have, they're all cleared when you talk to different people. So I think that has been the road for me, and it has worked pretty well so far.
Absolutely. And I think it's important for undergraduate students because they get to know more about what the job is actually about. How does their day look like? A lot of students don't have that kind of knowledge before they decide what they want to pursue. So that's why I think networking really helps out here.
Absolutely. I completely
So
agree with you.
you've worked in so many several you've worked in several organizations. You've worked at AMD. I know you're now working at Deloitte, which you have also worked at in the past. Was there a criteria or something that helped you narrow down that these are the organizations that I want to work for?
Well, to be very honest, as I said, I did not have a hard set, a checklist or a list of things that I want to look in a company. For me, it was more kind of like working for companies that had lots of learning opportunities. I
Mhm.
always wanted to work for companies that offered a wide variety of roles or let's say different projects that I could work for. So this was kind of my soft criteria that I used to look for when choosing a particular company. And again, it was more like I used to go to different networking sessions on campus where different companies used to come. I used to talk to the recruiters, I talk with the managers, and kind of try to get a hint of what their company culture looks like, what are their values, and what do they, endorse, and what role would you be in if you could start working. And then I also used to talk to senior students and on my campus, and I used to connect with them on LinkedIn and ask them, like those of you, I mean, those people who have done roles before at companies like that, I would ask them that, what did you learn? Would you recommend this? And how would you advise me to go along that? So these were some of the things that kind of helped me choose the right companies that I want to go into. And through that, I think I was able to kind of shortlist and apply for different companies and see where it took me. So this was kind of my go-to list and my go-to criteria that I used to select organizations. And I think I was fortunate enough to land at successful organizations like AMD and Deloitte.
Absolutely. And I think it's also, but it also sounds like you were super active, right? You took those steps to differentiate yourselves from so many other applicants. You went out there, you talked to alumni, you talked to professionals, you got to know more about their company, their positions. So definitely, I think staying active, it plays a big role in you deciding where you want to work.
Absolutely. I think that's like one of the, again, one of the biggest points is you talk to people, you realize that, especially senior students, right? You realize that they have been there, they know what they have, they know the work that they have done, and they can relate and they can advise you better than I think anyone else. So I think they will tell you personal experience. And so that
Mhm.
I think holds a lot of value. So I always try to speak to either an alumni or let's say someone on LinkedIn who has been working, who has been very active to just to kind of get their perception of what they think, and that helps me a lot in choosing my target companies or where I want to apply, where I want to work. So that has been my go-to definitely.
For sure. So I know there's a lot of myths around networking where it's like, do we talk to recruiters or do we talk to professionals who are working in the position that we want to get, like a business analyst or a consultant or an accountant? And then there's alumni, like you talked about. So if you had to pick one out of the three that gives you the most value in terms of, getting you where you want to be, then what would you say?
Well, that's a difficult question. Let me think. I think for me, what has worked the most is a mixture of senior students who have worked there and
Mhm.
also the people on LinkedIn who are very active and who are like, they post regular contents and social media. And so I kind of reach out to both of them and I see,
Mhm.
because I think they have worked a lot. So what they say is I feel holds a big importance in my when I decide what a company is like and if I should go. So I think yeah, definitely senior students and the people on LinkedIn who I reach out to, they definitely play a big role in me deciding if a company is if I want to work at a particular company, because I get to see the roles that I would be doing and the work that I would be doing, and that is very important to me.
Absolutely. And I definitely like I can relate to that because recently I've been starting getting a lot more active on LinkedIn and I see that everyone around us is so like so willing to help, right? And
Exactly.
same thing with me as a career coach, I go out there and I talk to students who need some guidance. So I think LinkedIn is a good way to start because LinkedIn as a platform is designed in a way that caters to all.
Exactly. No, I completely. My first interactions when I didn't know anything, I think I started by making a LinkedIn profile and
Hmm.
I started like following some of the biggest influencers, student influencers on LinkedIn, and that's how I kind of got into this, tech and consulting industry. And I got to know that okay, these are different options that are possible, and these are the different opportunities that I can benefit from. So yes, I completely agree with you on that.
And so, what were some of the challenges that you faced when you were, let's say, networking or going through the recruitment process with these companies?
Great question. I think one of the biggest challenge that I face, and first of all, I would like to say that one of the biggest misconceptions that we have is that, the internship and recruitment process is long and enduring. I kind of agree, but I also say that if you have done your research and you know what you're getting into and you kind of have a picture of what you're doing, it's a straightforward process. But not to take away the challenges that come along with it, right? So I remember before I got into my first professional job at AMD as an intern, I had a lot of challenges. My first ones being that I did not know what a good resume should look like. I was struggling because, again, this was my first time applying for a professional job.
Mhm.
So getting the right resume, giving the right mock interviews, right? Knowing what to speak, what not to speak, and how to answer. Let's say if you don't know a question that's being asked in the interview. So all sorts of these things I had to figure out, and these were kind of challenges to me, as in like I did not know what to do. So
Mhm.
but again, I also feel that we live in a lucky world. Well, we have so many resources on LinkedIn, on YouTube. There's so many content out there that you can go and, educate yourself. For me
Mhm.
personally, I took help of my career center at my university. So I kind of went up to them and I told them that this is my resume. They helped me with my resume. They helped me with mock interviews. And then I also kind of literally cold texted people on LinkedIn about any tips or advice that they have for any interviews. And I did a lot of mirror talking. because I think that helps a lot, right? So these were some of the things that kind of helped me get into that. And my first interview was horrible. Let's keep that aside. But gradually, you know, as subsequently when I started giving interviews, I realized that I was getting better at it, right? And I was gaining self confidence. And the second most important challenge that I faced was, I think, time management, because when I was giving interviews and I was applying for these companies, I
Mhm.
was actually taking a full course load at my university. I was also working part time on campus, and not to mention my student involvement in student societies, right? So there were lots of things happening at once. So sometimes it was difficult to keep track of where to focus on, like, and what not to focus on. So I had to make sure that I was dividing my time right and I was keeping my priorities straight so that I knew what I had to pay attention to. So I think that was also one of the biggest challenge that I faced when applying to companies like this during the recruitment process. Sorry.
For sure, absolutely. And so I definitely understand the importance of using useful, like effective strategies, right? That will help you manage your time, that will help you reach out to people on time. Well, knowing the recruitment cycle as a whole and is a strategy in itself. Like so many people
Right.
miss deadlines, they're not sure when the interviews are being held. And so that, like you said, adds a lot of frustration to the process because you're not
Right.
exactly sure what to expect. So
Right.
I definitely think that useful like strategies like you mentioned, reaching out to people on LinkedIn, cold emailing, cold texting are all great tools to have. Mirror talking. This
Yes,
is
exactly. I think that helps a lot in interviews, right? Because we think that like we're speaking right, but it's only when you kind of record yourself or talk to yourself in the mirror you realize that this is the area you can improve on, and this is something that can help you tomorrow in an interview or something. So I think that definitely helped me a lot.
for sure. And so I guess my next question following that is just what experiences, in your opinion, are the experiences that helped you set apart from the crowd or helped you excel in the roles that you were going to pursue?
Right. So I think for me personally, I think it was more about learning different soft skills because technical skills, I think that's something that we learned in our courses and also doing side projects. But what's more important and what's something that companies look for is your soft skills. Like, let's say, do you have communication skills? Do you have teamwork skills? Do you have leadership skills? Are you able to portray what you're trying to, your thoughts into actions? Are you able to say what you're meaning? So for me, it was more about learning these skills through different experiences before I started my first professional job as an intern. So what I used to do was to learn these soft skills, or like I like to say them as the core
Mhm.
behavior skills. I used to take part in different voluntary and extracurricular activities on campus, like being part of student societies or taking part in events, hackathons, or let's say pitch competition, debates. So I developed these soft skills through those experiences. And I think they were essential in me getting an interview so that I was able to put on my resume that I have these experiences where I was able to learn. So, for example, I think in my second year, I was working as a senior supported learning groups leader, where my job was to kind of facilitate the calculus courses to first year students. So
Mhm.
that kind of helped me improve my communication skills a lot because I was talking to so many students at once. I was able to understand their problems. I was able to kind of make them understand what I was trying to say. And again, then I was also working as, let's say, I was working as a research assistant before my first job. So that helped me build my teamwork skills. So all these experiences, no matter how small or how big they were, kind of helped me one way or the other in gaining like a multitude of skills that I was able to put down on my resume. And through that, I was able to show them in my interview that I have this because of this experience. And they were one of the main reasons why I was able to excel in various positions. And I was able to gain exposure, such as going to Harvard for a peak weekend, going to
Mhm.
Forbes for a conference, and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges we face with students is that a lot of them have really great experience, but articulating that experience that translates, their experiences into assets is something that a lot of students lack um, in terms of knowledge. So that's part of what we do at Accelerate is we help them get there and we help them realize, okay, what were the transferable skills that you got out of this role that might be applicable to your finance role or tech role or even any even technical role. It's very useful to have that.
Yes, I definitely agree with that because I think once you start developing these skills, right, you would be able to transform them, use the experiences you've had in your professional job, and that can only take you up in the ladder, right? So I think that is very useful to have.
Mhm. And I also see that you are a Forbes 30 under 30 scholar. That is amazing. Congratulations for that, first of
Thank you so
all.
much.
Do you want to walk us through how you came about this opportunity? How did, like, what was the process like?
Yes, definitely. So Forbes, I have to say, one of the best experiences and the most amazing experience I've ever had. It was like a lot of fun. You have lots of influencers, you have entrepreneurs talking to you directly, and then you have such an amazing audience that you can just walk up to anyone and talk and initiate a conversation. Not to take away, there were some really great startups that were there showcasing their work and everything. So all in all, it was a great opportunity. Now, before I get into how I made connections or my biggest takeaways, the opportunity itself, I was presented through my network that I had made when I went to Harvard for peak weekend. So again, the Harvard has a peak weekend thing that where you have to go there and all like top students from all around the world they come there for MBA, and it's like a 1 week where you get to learn about different aspects and you get an insight on being an MBA student and what's it like to study at Harvard. So when I went there, I kind of made my network, and through my network, I was also made aware that the Forbes conference is coming up. So then, cut to all in all, they reached out to us and we reached out to them that we want to attend the conference. And they said that, yes, we can sponsor you guys and it would be a pleasure to have you at the Forbes conference. So we kind of went there and it was a great experience. Um, so yeah, this is how I applied to Forbes, and again, again, it was a wonderful experience, and I forgot the question. Sorry, I got so much into talking, I forgot
For
the
sure. No, but what I'm hearing right now is like your network really helped and it came in handy
right,
when you were looking for more opportunities, right? What were some of the takeaways from
right, yeah, exactly. I'm so sorry. Yes, so some of the biggest takeaways that I will personally I hear this question a lot, and lots of students come to me and they're like, "What's your biggest takeaway?" And I also have an article about the same on my LinkedIn profile. But I think for me personally, the biggest takeaways that stand out is make sure you know people and make sure to connect with people before going to the conference. So for me, conference is all about making professional contacts or knowing people and get to know different people. So if you connect with people who are going to the conference, that can help you being your travel buddies, or they can help you attend the workshop that you're passionate about. They might share the same passion as you, or they might share the same interest as you, right? So this can go a long way. Now, you might ask that, how do you even connect with people? How do you even know who's going there? So I think the best platform available is LinkedIn again. Before the conference, I used to see a lot of posts on LinkedIn saying that, hey, I'm going to Forbes conference. Hey, I have been selected as under 30 scholars. So I used to send them a connection request with a small note saying that, hey, I'm also going for the conference, so I would love to connect with you. And that's how I started forming my own groups. And you kind of make your own groups, and the group grew as large as 50 people. So I didn't even imagine that I would know 50 people before even actually going to the conference, right? So that's how I made my first group, and I was able to find some travel buddies with me who went to the same, who were on the same flight as me, and who were with me all along the conference. So I think this is one of the biggest things. You might even make your first connection, and that's a win-win, right? So one of your main focus is to make connections. And the second takeaway for me personally would be stepping beyond your comfort zone. I think, let's be honest, we all like to stay in the comfort zone, right? Like in the small bubble of ours that, okay, this is good, I don't want anything. But I think real experiences, they begin once you step out of your comfort zone. And it might be different. Stepping out of the comfort zone might be different for different people. It can be that you go and ask your questions to a panelist, you talk to someone you don't know, and all sorts of different things. Or let's say you introduce yourself to some people and you talk to different panelists and see what's from diverse background. They might not be from your background, but from a diverse background. So that can help you kind of expand your horizons. So I think going beyond your comfort zone has a lot of things to offer. So once you step out of that, you'll see that there are lots of people and lots of opportunities that are out there. It's only about time that you kind of go there and seize the moment. So I think these are some of the biggest takeaways that I had from the conference, and I'm always grateful for the experience.
That's absolutely amazing. I completely resonate with you when you say stepping out of your comfort zone. Like I for myself, I know that when I started posting on LinkedIn, I knew that I had a lot of value to offer, but I was just so self-conscious about it. But as soon
Right.
as I started doing it slowly, like, my and then my first post was only about 1,000 views. And then I kept pushing it, I kept doing it, and now my posts are getting over like 10,000 views. So I think it's about time that you start seeing those results when you push yourself into
Exactly.
doing that.
And I think it's really important that if you are socially active on the platform, people tend to notice you more. And
Mhm.
like I remember this one of my friends who then became my friend after going to the conference, but he was posting a lot about going to the Forbes conference and the content and everything, right? So I saw that as soon as people saw him at the conference, they would go up to him and they would be like, "Hey, I know you from that LinkedIn post. Hey, I know you from the LinkedIn
Oh
group." So
wow.
that's how you know that you don't even know people before that, but then all of a sudden you were like hanging out with a group of 50 people and you were just attending workshops and competitions and all stuff like that. So that really goes a long way. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. What I'm hearing is like, yeah, like you don't even know what people are noticing you. They might be,
Exactly.
they might have the next big opportunity for you. And so it's really important
Exactly.
to stay active and engage in digital presence.
Yes, completely.
What is your advice to our students who will be watching you, and are trying to break into highly competitive fields, whether it's tech or whether it's consulting?
So I think one of the advice that I would like to give them is that at start it can be intimidating. There's lots of things going around. You don't know like what's the right step to put into how to get into this industry. So don't let it get don't get intimidated by that. You have to start with one small step at a time. You have to start from the very basics. For me, it was getting my resumes right, getting my mock interviews right, or connecting with people on LinkedIn, cold texting people on LinkedIn. So from that small steps, I kind of started gradually going into the next step and the other and the other. And subsequently, I didn't even realize when it became, when I was having this fruits of my hard work that I put in before that. So once you start going into that, you have to take small step at a time, connect with people. I think LinkedIn now is more important than ever. I
Mhm.
completely believe that. So reach out to people, be socially active, go to different networking sessions, take part in hackathons, competitions, no matter how small it is, how big it is, just go in there and try to make at least one or two or three friends there. And you won't realize when it becomes so big and then and any job that you want to apply or any industry you want to get in, I'm so sure that you would at least know one or two people from your network who are already working there. So that's how you already have your people and your network there. So you can, email them, you can talk to them, and you can get the advice and tips on how to get into that. So for me, and I would advise that start from very small steps and gradually take it to the big steps. And one thing that I would also advise is always have sort of a business card with you, because I think it can be, you don't have to be an a owner of a startup or a big position at a tech company. You can always have your name
Mhm.
and your LinkedIn connection and something like your phone number or email, whatever you're convenient, whatever is convenient for you, right? So people, that's what I have seen, that people tend to remember you more if they have a memory of you. So in this case, it would be a business card that you can give, or if you feel a resume. See, some people carry resumes with them at conferences or hackathons, right? So if you give something that they can remember, I think, and also, you can always send them a note on LinkedIn saying how grateful you were to meet them, and you cannot wait for the next, competition with them or something like that.
Mhm.
That goes a long way. That will help you a lot when you're applying to a new job, a new venture, or a new hackathon complete, something like that. So I think that's something I would like to tell the incoming students, that take your time. You don't have to rush it, but it will all fall into place. You realize just have one small step at a time.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that it's important for students to realize that now and learn that now than later down the road,
Right.
because there's such a few, like there's such a small part of the population that's doing it, right? There's maybe 1 or 2% of people doing it. So by doing that, you are setting yourself apart. You're making yourself recognizable. You're leaving an imprint essentially,
Yeah.
which goes a long, long way.
Exactly. Yes. That's my main point and my main takeaway and main advice that I would like to give the students who are looking into this tech and digital world.
Thank you so much, Param. Thank you for being with us today. I had so much fun talking to you. Is there any social network that the students can reach you on?
Sure, yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Again, thank you for the invite. I love talking. And you can always reach me at LinkedIn.
Mhm.
I would like, I don't have anything on me, but if at all, I would just, it's Param Desai 204. That's my LinkedIn handle. So you can always reach out to me on that. And so, yes, always just shoot me a text if you feel free. Just reach out to me. I can talk about anything. I like to talk. So you can ask me anything, and I would love to connect with you.
For sure. Thank you so much for being a part of the Accelerate Speaker Series. And we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.